Yes, I'm wearing a jacket inside because it's cold and I'm trying to save money on heating.
I rely heavily on color when I make art, maybe a bit too much. Even when I was doing Inktober, I just had to add an accent color. I couldn't stand the idea of it just being black and white. But, I want to strip that away for a bit. So the question is, how do I make my style distinct using only this guy, a pencil? I'm stealing this bit from my buddy, but I'm an acrylic main, so it's not often that I'm just doing straight up pencil sketches and finishing them. Pencil sketches are usually just a first step in the process of a bigger project. So I'm gonna start off with drawing a regular face, like a real person, not some model or superhero with dramatic lighting, just like a person. This image is from Unsplash. At this point in the drawing, this is normally where I try to fit in a bunch of abstraction on the face using color and brushwork. But when I only have a pencil, it's not so easy. If I'm sketching, usually I just do whatever the fuck, but now I'm trying to make videos. I'm trying to be a bit more intentional with what I'm saying or why I'm doing something.
I feel like I have too many conflicting shadows going on over here, so this is just not working.
Something I've really been liking with this sketch is using some more defined lines. Like, in reality, you wouldn't see the outline of her face, but I'm liking the hierarchy of using a bolder line as a contour. Speaking of lines, I'm also really liking how these outlined shadows are looking. I'm definitely a fan of how these angular shapes contrast with some areas that are shaded more softly. I really enjoy when there's a lot of visual variety in art, when an artist is using different shapes, techniques, textures, and blending them all together.
Not entirely sure what is happening with this hair. Trying to get some interesting shapes, and I keep getting foiled by drawing things that aren't interesting shapes.
So now onto the hair, which I feel like is the true main event of this piece. Rendering hair realistically is really challenging, so that's why I almost never do it. And there's your art tip of the day: if something's too difficult, just don't do it and do something else. This style of gestury, faceted hair shapes has been something I've kind of been developing for a bit, albeit a bit slowly because I don't do pencil portraits very often. It was kind of developed in order to save time. Trying to render a whole wad of hair, especially dark hair, with the tip of a pencil is very boring to me, so breaking it up into these little sections makes it a little bit more manageable for my brain. So that's an example of how I found my own unique drawing voice, and how I went from drawing like this to drawing like this. And the journey still isn't over. So now here are some thoughts on things you can do to help with that style finding. Before that though, I just wanted to explain that I'm drawing this because the Marvels came out and I wanted to do some timely fan art. I did the initial drawing digitally where I could easily fix mistakes and make sure all the talent was in there equally. And so I could focus more on the inking and mark making later when I was in the mood. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard, but there's this idea that more or less says that nothing is original, and I think that's kind of bullshit because you've never existed before. So how can anyone claim that your lens in which you see the world has already been examined and tested? Throughout history, there's only been one you, and there will only ever be the one you, so why not try to find out what your unique voice actually is? The first thing that we're going to do is expand your input. Draw inspiration from everything, not just a set of artists, but listen to music that makes you feel good. Music that you feel with your whole being. Watch movies that give you new perspectives on life. Books, sculptures, tricking, animation. Take that all in, jumble it up in your brain, let it marinate, and then spit out some shit that feels authentic to you. So now that we've covered what you take in, now you gotta vary your output. In order to express yourself the way you want to, you kind of need to know what you're doing. So experiment with different mediums, test out the limitations and possibilities of each one. Inktober taught me a lot of different types of rendering with ink, and I was able to apply a lot of that with how I use a pencil. In this case, I'm trying to level up my dip pen skill tree so that I have the confidence to do more ambitious things with it, and so that I can understand it better. In this piece, I'm trying to combine all sorts of styles and mark making. I've even borrowed a bunch of cues from the graffiti work that I've done recently. I'm not concerned with making this piece into a final work of art. I'm giving myself permission to fail. Permission to make something that maybe isn't super successful, all in the name of experimentation. If you're not trying new things, how are you really gonna know what you love and what you don't?
One thing that I'm starting to do, because I think it is funny, is I'm going to turn all my mistakes into cats.
So that being said, here's a friendly, fun challenge. Let me know in the comments how many hidden cats you were able to find. And if you want to see me attempt to explain my painting process, head over here.